Hi, Vizzey here, and in today's video I will show you how I created Zarina's Twisted Masquerade mask for the 7th year anniversary event of Dead by Daylight. This video is in partnership with Dead by Daylight, and I received the honor to create throughout the event 3 survivor masks, and I will show you how I did one of them, and this is Zarina's. So here's a little small roadmap for this video. We will first of all start with the materials that I used for this video, moving on with the shaping of the mask, and then adding the small details on it, and concluding with the priming and the painting. So let's get started. For the creation of the mask, I used different materials, and we will start first of all with a pre-made mask, base mask that I bought on the internet. This helps you really well to know how your face is shaped and how the mask will look like, so you don't have to freestyle anything, and it's a very good base. For every mask that you want to create, you can have full mask or like half mask like this here for the event, so it's like very fitting, especially for the survivor side, and I think they were very helpful when I created the mask. Another material that I use, and that is going to be the most used material especially for this video and for the mask, is worbla. Worbla is a thermoplastic that you can heat up and shape and form everything that you want. I'm gonna go into details later on in the video on the function of worbla and how worbla works, but this is like the material that I use for creating the mask overall. Next, what I also used for the mask is rubber foam sheet, and I used them to create the coins underneath the mask that she has. And to create the coins, I used the paper punches, which are very accurate in creating like the small circles instead of like cutting them. For attaching the mask and doing everything, I used contact glue, which is basically, for me, in my opinion, better than super glue and hot glue. Contact glue basically is the savior in the cosplay making, crafting. It sticks really well onto the surface of the materials, and it's really hard to take it apart, so contact glue is always a go-to when you want to create any cosplays of any shape and form, and maybe armor, weapons, mask, whatsoever. Contact glue is the go-to in creating and crafting. Another small detail that I came up with when I was creating the mask basically is a hot glue gun. So basically for the hot glue gun, I used it to contouring and forming the small details on the mask. I never thought it would work, but it actually worked. Since we are working a lot with worbla, what is also really important is the heat gun. So the heat gun basically heats up the thermoplastic, aka the worbla, and you can shape and form it how you want to. So this is like also one of the most important things that you need to create the mask. For priming, I used Plastidip, which is a really good rubber-like spray that I use mostly for priming before I start painting. I will go into details on how to use Plastidip also later on in the video, but Plastidip is also a go-to when you want to create any type of armor with EVA foam or worbla. This is like the go-to as well. I used acrylic color, of course the theme of the event, gold, blue, and a bit of silver as well. To conclude the material list, we used one rhinestone that we're gonna put in the middle of the mask, and this is just like, you know, these are just rhinestones. So the first step in this process is to create the shape of the mask. Yes, we already have the pre-based mask, but since we're working also with worbla, we need to recreate the shape of the mask so we can add the worbla on top of the mask to coat it. So what you need to do is take one of the base masks and squish them flat to sketch the outline of it on worbla. Worbla sheet is basically a material that is composed of thermoplastic and resin and wood flower filler. One side it is coated with a heat active adhesive, so when you heat it up, it already sticks to it, and you can form and shape it just how you want it. Roughly sketch the small details of the mask to see if it's the right shape and to get a small picture on how it will look in the near future. Cut the worbla shape with a cutter. Sometimes you need to put a little bit more of pressure on the worbla since it's not gonna cut like easily. Just like doing it once or twice will actually do the magic. Heat up the worbla and place it on the base mask, forming it to make it stick with reheating, and start shaping the first coat. Heat the mask a little bit up, and then with a cutter, cut the hole in the eye section, and then start pressing it inside of the mask to form the eye party. Add contact glue after this to make the worbla stick to the mask, and heat it up again and shape it over and over until you get it to your liking. Cut a little bit of parts around the mask to correct it to get the shape that you want of the mask. Take the centerpiece that we pre-sketched before and add it on top of the mask in the middle of it. Take some of the remaining worbla and create small and big oval shapes that go around the mask and add them to the mask by heating up the worbla. It really sticks easily, so you don't really need to worry about it, but even if you want to be a little bit safe, add some contact glue, but most of it, worbla, is really sticky on worbla itself, so you don't really need to glue it again. Take the foam rubber sheet and punch your circles with a paper punch to add them to the bottom of the mask. And here you go, you have the face mask on how it should look. After we added the worbla on the pre-base mask, we will move on now with adding the details on the mask with more worbla. So it's gonna be a really detailed process. It takes a lot of time and patience to do it. Draw the complete outline of the mask with a marker to get a small idea on where to place them. Heat up worbla pieces and shape them into round thin lines. Heat up and cut over and over again the small pieces and place them on the outlines that we drew on the mask. Take a small plastic utensil that you normally use for forming clay, or you can also use anything that has, like, you know, a round surface, and squish the worbla to the mask and shape and form it the way you want it so it doesn't look detached from the mask. Don't worry about the worbla bending, you can always readjust it by heating it up. So even if you heat up the mask and you see some parts moving, don't worry about it, you can always replace it how it was before. To add the circles around the eyes, heat up worbla and take the small size of the paper punch set to cut round circles of worbla out. Heat up the part of the mask and then add the cut round circles of worbla and add them slowly on the place where you marked it. For the smaller details, take a hot glue gun and add the thin lines on the mask and on the oval shape. Worbla won't make it too cluttered and time consuming, plus you have more control with a hot glue gun to do the contouring, so you save a lot of time with it. Don't worry about the mask looking like a mess right now, because it will look different once you prime it. So it will look in first place like you're not doing any progress because it looks all over the place with so many details on it, but once you prime it, it's gonna be fine, I reassure you. Create the small rows with small pieces of worbla, shaping them together into a clover leaf shape. Heat the worbla and push the leaf slowly up, adding more small pieces in between to make it look like a rose. Add the ribbon arc on the mask line with contact glue. You can also shape it with worbla, but it would look super uneven and not really soft, so I think adding the ribbon gives it a different touch. For priming the mask, you can either use Plasti Dip or Mod Podge. Personally, I think that Plasti Dip is the better solution because, first of all, it's a spray and it's gonna coat it like immediately. With Mod Podge, you have to take a brush and you have to slowly prime it and you have to use like several coats on it. You need to use it also on the spray, but the spray is kind of like easier to apply on. Plus, also Plasti Dip gives you a base coating before start painting it, and in this case, it's black before adding the blue and the gold. So I think it does the work quicker there and it saves you a lot of time too. Plasti-Dip is a rubber-like coating that can be applied by dipping, brushing, or spraying and can be used on surfaces such as plastic, wood, glass, metal, chrome, and PVC. It protects the coated items against moisture and other elements. Before using Plasti-Dip, it is really important to warm it up a little under warm water, but not boiling water, to make the substance liquid. Very important, and this is for your safety. Use a mask in an outdoor location or a good ventilated location for Plasti-Dip, since Plasti-Dip has a very toxic substance and it can also damage your lungs. Spray the coating around the mask and keep a good distance from it to avoid bubbles. The last step of the mask creation, which is also the fun step, is finally coloring. In this case, I used acrylic colors such as blue, gold, and silver, since it's also like the theme of the event, and the masks also have all a theme of blue, gold, and black. Since Plasti-Dip already coated the mask in black, we don't really need to paint the mask black, so it already took half of the job. I started off with the blue color since it's a darker color than the gold. I painted every part of the mask which contained blue first, and then continued with gold, since gold is a color that can coat better darker colors. For the rose that is on top of the mask, I used red acrylic color to make it shine brighter, and I'm telling you, once you apply the red, it's gonna be a total game changer on the overall mask. The bigger oval shape has a silver contouring on the grid outline and the smaller one gold. To finish off the mask, use the rhinestone and place it in the middle of the rose. And here we are, we finished the mask. So this is it for the mask creation of Zarina's mask. I hope I could somehow give you a small insight on how it worked on the mask. For the other 3 survivor masks, or like 2 survivor remaining masks, I use the same way with worbla. So maybe if you want to create a mask from last year's event or this year's event, you can try it out with worbla, or like the tips and tricks that I gave you there. So yeah, let me know in the comment down below which one is your favorite mask of this year's anniversary event, and if you're gonna make one. I would love to see your creations, so post them on social and tag me in it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you Dead by Daylight for giving me this opportunity to work on the mask for this year's event. This meant the world to me. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give it a like as well, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!